A big fight in the light heavyweight division is set. Carlos Ulberg versus Dominic Reyes, and that's actually going to headline the UFC Fight Night card in Perth on September 27th. The fight's been scheduled a couple times before, but fell through due to injuries. Ulberg's on an 8-fight win streak, coming off a win over Blachowicz and Uzdemir, and he's currently ranked number 3 in the light heavyweight division. Reyes is ranked number 8. He's made a strong comeback in his career with 3 straight KOs after a long layoff. The matchup seen as a possible title eliminator, with the winner likely positioning themselves for a shot at the belt following the Onk versus Pereira rematch. Some fans are quite excited about this fight, about this Reyes redemption arc, which sort of came out of nowhere. Although some contend that Jones never beat Reyes. After going 11-0, Reyes lost 4 in a row, but then he came back winning 3 in a row, all by KO. And if he beats Ulberg, all of a sudden he's number 3 in the division and close to title contention again. Khabib Nurmagomedov recently suggested UFC should get rid of rounds, just have a 15-minute uninterrupted fight for a regular fight, and for a championship fight, just 25 minutes straight fighting uninterrupted without rounds. Some guys don't mind it, like Daniel Cormier. He sees merit in Khabib's idea, recalling how uninterrupted wrestling matches allowed dominant competitors to impose control and extract damage without resets, asserting that his format could truly separate men from boys. Chael Sonnen isn't necessarily a fan of it. He talks about how rounds serve a practical purpose for scoring, provide recovery for fighters, assist judges in evaluating action consistently, and act as structural breaks that could make the sport more viewer-friendly. He cautions against a perfectly fair system discarding what already works in MMA. Others talk about how the early UFCs had no breaks, and some fights were dragged into long, uneventful grappling exchanges that really tested viewers' patience. Critics argue that rounds would likely lead to slower starts, heavy pacing, and ultimately a less engaging spectacle. Others think that the format would favor wrestlers, allowing them to control position without periodic resets. UFC 319 co-main event and main event fighters training with each other. Khamzat Chimaev and Aaron Pico. Pico takes on Lerone Murphy in the co-main event. Stylistically, it's a clash between a powerful, explosive wrestler boxer in Pico and a slick, composed striker Murphy with strong defensive instincts and underrated grappling. Pico brings high-level wrestling credentials and explosive athleticism. He's known for fast starts, vicious body work, and KO power, especially with hooks and uppercuts. He's pretty good at blending his wrestling into his game when he's disciplined, but historically he's been vulnerable when he overcommits to brawling. If he stays composed, though, mixing level changes with his hands, he can overwhelm opponents. But if he gets too wild, his defense can be exploited. Murphy, on the other hand, he's a lot more patient, methodical, uses excellent footwork, feints, sharp jab to control range. He's known for poise under pressure. He's rarely getting drawn into reckless exchanges. His takedown defense has held up against decent wrestlers, and he's hard to hit clean. He's not as flashy as Pico, but he's durable, calm, and efficient. Stylistically, the fight will probably come down to whether Pico can close the distance and impose his pace without getting clipped or burnt out. If he blitzes recklessly, Murphy could catch him on the way in or frustrate him with movement and counters. If Murphy can survive the early storm and drag the fight past the first round, his composure and fight IQ may take over. If Pico mixes wrestling early and avoids a firefight, he could bank rounds or even get a finish, which would be impressive, beating number 6 in Fight 1 in the UFC. Dean Thomas thinks that Khamzat winning the middleweight belt at UFC 319 could be a disaster for the division, in the sense that he's worried that Khamzat might not be able to defend the title often or even show up, given his history of health issues, long layoffs, and canceled fights. Thomas thinks the division needs an active champ to keep the division moving, and he doesn't trust Khamzat can be that guy, which is a stark contrast to when Khamzat first entered the UFC, where he was fighting more than anybody in the history of the UFC. Song Yadong doing 1,510 push-ups within the span of an hour. Mauricio Rufy teasing a fight in France at UFC Paris in September against Benoit Saint-Denis. Rufy is looking to get into the rankings. Benoit Saint-Denis is 13. Rufy currently unranked. Rufy will look to use his slick striking and knock him out, while BSD will look to drag the fight into deep waters. Czech Congo and Hector Lombard competing in Pillow Fighting Championship, kind of unusual PFC super fight. That's on Friday. You can see it on ESPN 8, the Ocho, at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and ESPN 2. Czech Congo hasn't fought in 3 years. His last fight was against Ryan Bader. He lost that via decision. Hector Lombard last competed 2 years back in bare knuckle MMA against a guy who was 1-1, so Hector won that fairly easily. Karini Silva versus Dion Barbosa on August 16th, UFC 319 in Chicago. Barbosa replaces JJ Aldridge. These two fought before in 2019. Barbosa won a decision in that one, so Karini killer looking to avenge that loss August 16th. Rainier Ritter says that it was a fake account accepting Paulo Costa's challenge. He has no interest in fighting Paulo Costa, which makes sense. He's way ahead of Costa in the rankings, and he's looking for a title shot, not fighting like guys 10 ranks below him. He doesn't care what Costa says. He says he can call him gay all day. It doesn't matter to him.
I don't give a fuck, man. He was here in Breda a little while back when I was here training with kickboxing guys at Nick Hammer's. But he didn't want to come train with me, so I don't know. I don't know much about him. But he's a funny dude. It would lead to a nice press conference and a nice build-up, but I don't give a fuck what he says. You can call me whatever you want to call me. Call me gay every day of the week. I don't mind. Maybe one day, but at the moment, I don't think he's there. I don't think he's at my level.
Things can definitely change fast in MMA. Just last week, Paulo Costa was ahead of RDR in the rankings, but after his win over the weekend, RDR shot up 8 spots in the middleweight rankings to number 5 position. So now he's 7 spots ahead of Paulo Costa, which is why Costa wants to fight him, which is also why RDR doesn't want to fight him. So RDR doesn't give a shit about fighting Paulo Costa, but he does give a shit about fighting the winner of Khamzat Chimaev and DDP. For him, stylistically, the guy who's easier to prepare for would be Khamzat, while DDP would be harder to prepare for because he has such an unusual style. But while Khamzat's style might be straightforward, it's probably going to be hard to replicate him because he's just so good.
He would be like an easier guy to prepare for. Not that he is an easier fight, but he's more of a typical style. I can bring a couple of Dagestanis and a couple Chechens in who wrestle pretty similar to Khamzat. He boxes pretty cleanly, like boxing style. So yeah, that is not that spectacular. It's spectacular. It's not that special in a sense that it's not as weird as Rigas is, you know. So it'll be harder to prepare for him, but he might, if he wins, he might be the bigger name. But in my mind, I'm fighting both those guys in the next 6 to 9 months anyway.
Super happy for him. I think he's one of those special characters who's going to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt. Unbeaten. He's the first unbeaten guy to have 2 titles.